I am announcing today that the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
Achieving the almost impossible, isolating not Tehran, but Washington.
We will be instituting the highest level of economic sanction. Any nation that helps Iran in its quest for nuclear weapons could also be strongly sanctioned.
Iran will no longer be able to buy American dollars. It won't be able to trade in gold. Aluminium and steel are also on the list, as is the country's currency, the rial. On Iran's oil industry, shipping and insurance, and the central bank.
News out of Iraq, where there are reports of a mortar round being fired close to the high security green zone in Baghdad. The area houses key government buildings and the U.S. Embassy.
2 tankers apparently attacked, possibly by torpedoes or mines, in the Gulf of Oman. The crews forced to abandon ship as the massive tankers burned. One ship, owned by a Norwegian company, was transporting a petroleum product to Taiwan. The other, operated by a Japanese firm, was transporting chemicals from Saudi Arabia to Singapore. Just before the incident, both ships had transited the Strait of Hormuz, the strategically important shipping lane near Iran. It's not known for certain who is behind the attacks. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is blaming Iran. The attacks happened as Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was in Tehran for talks, hoping to ease tensions between Iran and the U.S. Iran has denied responsibility for the attack. Foreign Minister Javad Zarif tweeted this: reported attacks on Japan-related tankers occurred while Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was meeting with Ayatollah Khamenei for extensive and friendly talks.
The US says one of its military drones has been shot down in international airspace over the Strait of Hormuz by an Iranian surface-to-air missile. It's believed the drone was being used for high-altitude surveillance. Iran's Revolutionary Guard has identified it as an RQ-4 Global Hawk, which you can see pictured here.
I don't know. I find it hard to believe it was intentional, if you want to know the truth. I think that it could have been somebody who was loose and stupid.
Global Hawk is a military intelligence reconnaissance craft. It collects intelligence with images and also electronic intelligence. And quite likely, Global Hawk is being engaged in military tactical reconnaissance to update attack plans so that if the president decides to order a strike, those plans have the absolute best information that our intelligence community, military intelligence community.
Newly released video showing masked Iranian commandos rappelling onto the British flagship.
If you obey, you will be safe.
Watch as masked troops rappel from a helicopter onto the tanker while patrol boats circle the vessel. Iranian officials say the British tanker violated international maritime laws.
Nearly a week after the worst terror attack Saudi Aramco has ever seen, an assessment of the damage. Multiple strikes taking out half of Saudi's production, with 5.7 million barrels per day offline in a matter of minutes.
Now, as you can see behind me, significant damage to one of 4 stabilizers. This is just one of 4 locations within Al Khurais that were under attack around 3:40 a.m. in the morning over the weekend.
A U.S. contractor has been killed in an attack on an Iraqi military base. Several rockets were fired into the base near Kirkuk that houses both Iraqi and U.S. troops.
There were several rockets that hit inside the K-1 military base. It's the first time that we're actually seeing U.S. casualties. It bears similar hallmarks to previous attacks which were attributed to the Iranian-backed armed group Kataib Hezbollah. Now, an unprecedented confrontation between the U.S. and Iran on Iraqi soil. For the first time, U.S. airstrikes targeting bases of an Iranian-backed armed group, killing and injuring dozens.
This is new video of the drama unfolding in Baghdad today. That's the U.S. Embassy surrounded by massive clouds of smoke. Hundreds of Iraqi protesters stormed the building this morning. They managed to make their way inside while U.S. troops were still present. The demonstration follows a series of American airstrikes in Iraq and Syria targeting an Iranian-backed militia group.
Take a look at this tweet from the president. He says, Iran killed an American contractor, wounding many. We strongly responded and always will.
Simmering tensions between Iran and the US have boiled over. The American embassy in Baghdad has been under siege as pro-Iranian militiamen and demonstrators tried to breach its walls, angry at US airstrikes in the region.
In the early hours of Friday morning, shortly after arriving at Baghdad International Airport, U.S. missiles killed Soleimani and his close ally, Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis.
This is all that was left of a convoy of cars carrying Iran's most senior military commander. His killing by the United States will shake the Middle East to the core.
Republican Guard spokesman General Ramazan Sharif broke down at the news and said that American joy at Qasem Soleimani's death would be short-lived.
Mr. Trump has not yet directly commented, but he printed this image of the American flag, the Stars and Stripes, at the top of his Twitter feed.
Last night, more than 650 US troops arrived in neighbouring Kuwait to provide reinforcements. All eyes will be on Iran's response.
Foreign Minister Mohammad Jawad Zarif tweeted, "The US act of international terrorism, targeting and assassinating General Soleimani, is extremely dangerous and a foolish escalation."
We took action last night to stop a war. We did not take action to start a war.
The US is urging Americans to leave Iraq immediately and is sending extra troops to the region in case of reprisal.
Doubt Iran and other freedom-seeking countries in the region will take his revenge.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo tweeted a video showing Iraqis celebrating the attack.
In Iraq, for those protesting Iranian influence, there were celebrations at news of his death. He was the mastermind behind Iranian power there, even, it is rumoured, ensuring the Prime Minister Abdul Mahdi stayed in power.
الاستشهاديون الذين أخرجوا أمريكا في السابق من منطقتنا ما زالوا موجودين وأكثر بكثير مما كانوا في السابق. بالدقة عندما تبدأ نعوش الجنود الأمريكيين والضباط الأمريكيين بالانتقال النعوش عندما جاءوا عموديا ويعودون أفقيا إلى الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، سيدرك ترامب وإدارة ترامب أنهم فعلا خسروا المنطقة وسيخسرون الانتخابات.
Hundreds of thousands of mourners witnessed the return of General Qasem Soleimani's body to his hometown of Kerman.
وإن كانوا مسيئين فتجاوز عنهم. اللهم إنا لا نعلم منهم إلا
خانواده های سربازان آمریکایی در غرب آسیا که شاهد ذلت آمریکا در نبردهای سوریه، عراق و لبنان و افغانستان و یمن و فلسطین بودند، در انتظار مرگ فرزندانشان روزهایشان را سپری خواهند کرد.
شهید القدس، شهید القدس، شهید القدس.
God willing, it is now time to clear and cleanse the region of these devils. It is now time to show more resistance to the Americans and show our resistance with action, to tell those Yankees to get out of here, get lost.
إنه من مصلحة العراق والولايات المتحدة في ظل هذه الظروف إنهاء هذا التواجد.
Iran announcing it has no limits to its nuclear activities.
The roar of rockets as Iran hits back at the United States. Two bases in Iraq, both housing American forces, struck by Iranian missiles.
Iranian ballistic missiles began raining down on Al-Assad Air Base in Iraq, where 2,000 U.S. troops were based. As a drone recorded the attack, Americans caught in the crosshairs could do nothing but run or duck and cover.
Holy God damn!
Each missile carried a warhead weighing more than 1,000 pounds.
Knocked the wind out of me, followed by the most putrid tasting ammonia, tasting dust that swept through the bunker, coated your teeth.
We first learned that it was a missile that took down a Ukrainian airliner over Iran
because of this video showing the moment of impact. All 176 people on board were killed.
یه تصمیم گیری عجولانه یک فرد یه اتفاق و یک فاجعه بزرگ رخ داد.
ملکای مردم، نیروهای آتش نشانی، نیروهای مردمی هم دارن کمک میکنن.
Guns unpinned.
Yeah, I know.
The transition deal announced earlier this month was sealed in July by Iraq's Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi and US President Joe Biden. It stipulates that US troops would stick to only training Iraqi forces and exchanging intelligence.